Welcome back. You're listening to the Labor Forum here on WRFG 89.3 FM. We've just seated our guest at this table, and those of you again who are watching can see that she's got our Raise Up 15 t-shirt on. This is Nashia Clemens. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I know that you're a member of the Fight for 15 here in Atlanta. Can I ask you where you work?
I work at Taco Bell's.
You're a Taco Bell worker. All right, so the reason we sort of, in particular, have you on for today, where you were wearing a button that says Worksite Leader. We like all leaders here at WRFG, is that there was an event today, and we are asking you very specifically to talk about this National Day of Moral Action that was taking place in a number of cities, but also here in Atlanta. So if you could describe a little bit about what it was that happened today in the city of Atlanta around this call that Reverend Barber, in particular from North Carolina, played a very big role in sort of formulating this way to present the concerns and needs of working people.
Sorry.
All right.
First of all, I want to take the time out to a moment of silence for Minor D. Los Santos. She was a fast food worker who passed away August 27, 2016 at the age of 49. She was a mother. Missouri blocked her Medicaid extension, and she didn't have no insurance at her job. She was working at McDonald's making $9 an hour. And it's important because when you fighting diabetes, you have to check yourself 5 to 6 times a day. You have to have a lot of insurance because, you know, the testing strips are expensive, and I feel for her family because myself as a mother, I have a son who's 17 who's had diabetes since the age of 1. And my son stopped breathing twice, and we had to perform CPR on him. So health insurance on jobs is very important, and I feel that the government should take considerations to extend Medicaid for those that don't have insurance on these jobs, because this could have been prevented if her Medicaid was extended. This type of thing could have been prevented if she had health insurance on her job. And now her kids have to grow up without a mother, and I'm just heartbroken and saddened by it because this woman sacrificed her life for her job. She sacrificed her kids for this job. And us as fast food workers and healthcare workers are not recognized for the work we do. You know, like I said, I work at Taco Bell. I work from 4 in the afternoon to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And how is it that you don't have health insurance for your workers? How is it that your workers are getting minimum wage? We can't live over $7.25.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I've been homeless since March 9th. You know, I stay at home on this day, but it's still costing me money. It's $2.19 a week. It's $7.56 a month, and we can't afford it on minimum wage. And you know, when I heard this lady's story, it just broke my heart because this is a woman who stood up for the Fight for 15. This is the woman that just came back from Richmond, Virginia, and marched with these people as sick as she was, and they let her down. They turned their back on this woman. They did not give her the care and the treatment that she needed, and I am just so heartbroken and so upset by it.
All right, so we'll, it's not something that we do quite often on the radio, but we'll take a few seconds to reflect, and I hope those of you that are listening also understand, the depth of the criticalness of this fight for a living wage. And I have to say, I don't even think $15 an hour is a living wage in many places, but it certainly is a plateau that we need to reach way more than $7.25. So we'll just be quiet here in the studio for like a few seconds, thinking again of this sister in Missouri. Is that where she's with?
Yes.
And I've seen it on the internet. People can see this story there. So just for a few seconds, there'll be silence here on the radio. Thank you very much. And I know that she is probably, you know, if we look at we look at all the stories of all the low-wage workers and all the many jobs, all the people who are unemployed, partially employed, homeless, etc., there would be literally thousands and thousands of people who have died so absolutely needlessly because of the low wages and the failure to have a health insurance plan in this country, the richest in the world. So let's, if you don't mind, now talk a little bit about what it was that happened today at Trinity Church, and then went to at the Capitol.
Well, we went to Trinity Church, like I said, to pay our respects for this young lady who passed away, and also to fight for the minimum wage to go up from $7.25 to $15 an hour. And also we went to the Capitol to pay a visit to the governor, you know, to give him our opinion and how we feel, you know, because Georgia is a right to state work, but that don't mean to cheat your employees out their money. That don't mean to, how can I put it, to work them as a slave. You know, you do so much for the little bit of money that you get. You spend time away from your family, you know, you sacrifice everything, and like I said, $7.25 is not enough, you know, but you know, we do what we have to do to make ends meet. And the reason why I joined the fight for 15, because I want people to hear my voice and hear my opinion. You know, we all have to be in this together. We all are one voice.
Dawn or Paul, did you want to ask a question? And Dawn is one of your compatriots. She's shoulder to shoulder with you.
I wanted to ask you, I know that Reverend Barber had talked about a letter, and he was asking different orgs to participate. Can you explain a little bit about the letter that went out to the orgs and the call that we have, you know, as organizations to back the fight for 15?
Well, like I said, the letter was for, you know, just to let them know what's going on with the Fight for 15, like the Medicaid benefits, the minimum wage, and things like that, you know. So that's what we did today.
Yes, Myrna de los Santos is a perfect example of how our decision makers have an obligation to champion policies that impact all aspects of our lives, not just living wages, but, you know, getting rid of this opportunity school district that's going to privatize and take over our schools, having affordable health care and access to health care for our people. And we see, like with her story, how these things can really destroy our lives and our communities. And so with us, we often think of this battle as it's purely just about the money, but this is life or death to a lot of people. And that's why we say this is a moral issue. And we need a moral revival in this country, an awakening of morals here, because we're a country and we say we're the land of the free and that we care about families and that we care about people. But then when we look at senseless deaths like Myrna's, which all of the actions today across the nation were dedicated to our lost sister, who was always at the front of the strike line. She was just on fire with the Fight for 15. And so this is so much more for all of us, for our communities and for our lives. And so this letter was essentially telling Governor Gill and the rest of our elected officials that we're going to judge you by how you enact policies that can improve our lives or to make them worse.
So my understanding is that, you know, other additional issues were, of course, voting rights, prison reform or judicial reform. Were there other issues as well that were part of this letter?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, LGBT rights is also something that's important. We had somebody talk about voter rights who worked with Georgia's election protection for a number of years and has been organizing on that front. We also, of course, for affordable health care, education, educational equality, because right now we see that our education system definitely isn't equal or just. And essentially all of these things combine to control what our lives look like. All of these aspects, and they all are super intersectional. And they sometimes are encouraged by one another's. some help perpetuate others, and so it's impossible in any movement, I think, for us to just look at one issue in its totality and not look at all these other issues here. And then why aren't our decision makers looking at these issues? And that was our question today. We need an awakening of values in this country.
Dawn?
Tara, I'm gonna ask you the question that they always ask me. Turn it back around on you. Explain how, like, the fight for 15, economic justice and racial justice, explain that inner relationship, you know, how they act.
Yeah, racial justice is definitely on the radar today. And for us, when you look at primarily, it took us, and by us I mean black people, as a black person, it took us 400 years to get from $0 an hour in slavery to $7.25. We can't wait another 400 years for another raise. I got that from Reverend Barber, just have to throw it out there. Those are not my words. But it's very true. And so when we look at disproportionately underpaid workers are black and brown folks. And then we go and see that this dictates the communities that we live in. And so then you're in a community that has more violence and more crime because of the lack of economic opportunity. So then you add in the element of over policing. And then there comes, unfortunately, unwarranted shooting deaths of unarmed black and brown folks. Or there goes, over policing our communities to the point that you're every day having to go, to court, or you're on probation and having to pay extra money, which Georgia has the most people in this country on probation for profit right now, making money off the backs of our hardworking individuals.
And if you make $7.25, it's hard to make that payment on probation.
Yeah.
It's gonna lead you right back into.
And I think even hearing Nashia talk about her story, that this is a woman who's works and literally has been dealing with homelessness actively. And that's not an America we stand by. That's not an America that we talk about. That's not what our Constitution says. That's not what any major faith talks about. Yet we see these same ills in our society. And so it's time for more revival. Our social media accounts, just really quick, our ATL, read your mind, we got some telepathy going on. ATL Raise Up on Facebook and Twitter. Stay tuned in with us on that. Just for extra updates on things that we have coming on in action, because it's time that we have 15 in Georgia. And it's time to organize the South to show that it is possible to organize the South and it's possible to win in the South. On the 21st, September 21st at 6:30 in our office at 3401 Normanberry Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30344. We'll be having a partners meeting for any community organizations who are interested in collaborating with us and getting involved with Fight for 15 further.
I want to thank both of you for coming in, Jayla.
Thank you.
Nashia.
Yes.
And good luck. And we, again, here on the Labor Forum, we've had many of the low-wage workers who have, as I said, totally in the last couple of years changed the whole political system, or not the discussion here in the United States, and have won. That's the other thing. You have won many places. We're looking forward to winning here in Georgia. So please stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with Stanley and Reggie, who are both here from ATU 732. And that's a big issue, again, of working folk, is once you get a job, how can you get to it if you don't have access to public transportation? Stay tuned.
Thank you.